Chapter 1, Section 6, Angle Pair Relationships. Vertical angles. It says two angles are vertical angles if their sides form two pairs of opposite rays. Remember, opposite rays are straight lines. Vertical angles are congruent. If you look at the diagram to the left, you have two straight lines intersecting, and it's forming angles 1, 2, 3, and 4. Underneath it, you see that angle 1 and angle 3 are vertical angles. Notice that they are across from each other. And you have another set of vertical angles, angle 2 and angle 4. Because they are vertical, we know that angle 1 and angle 3 are congruent, and angle 4 and angle 2 are congruent. If you look at the diagram on your right, these are not vertical angles because they are not opposite rays or forming straight lines. Notice that none of the rays are forming a straight line. So none of those are vertical, and none of them would be congruent because of being vertical angles. A linear pair. It says two adjacent angles are a linear pair if their uncommon sides are opposite rays or a straight line. Here I do have a linear pair. Notice I have an acute angle and an obtuse angle. They're sharing this ray that's sticking up. And notice that the uncommon sides or non-common sides are forming opposite rays or a straight line. So that is a linear pair. The first example asks, are angle 1 and angle 2 a linear pair? Angle 1 and angle 2 are adjacent angles. Their non-common ray is forming a straight line, so the answer would be yes. The second question is, are angle 4 and angle 5 a linear pair? If you look at angle 4 and angle 5, they are adjacent angles. However, they're opposite. Their non-common ray is not forming a straight line or a pair of opposite rays. So the answer to this would be no. The third question asks, are angle 5 and angle 3 vertical angles? Angle 5 and angle 3 are not vertical angles because they do not have two sets of opposite rays or straight lines. Their rays are not forming straight lines. Now if we look at angle 1 and angle 3, those are vertical angles because I do have opposite rays. Because angle 1 and angle 3 are vertical angles, we can also say that they are congruent or have the same measure. Example 2 asks us to find the missing angle measures. If you notice, we are given the angle 36. I know that I can find the missing angles because this one is 36 because it is vertical to the given 36-degree angle. Now to find the missing two angles, I know that these are adjacent to a 36-degree angle and they're forming a straight line. Remember, a straight line measures 180 degrees. So I can take 180 and subtract 36, and I find that the missing angle is 144 degrees. Because this angle is 144 degrees, I know that its vertical angle is also 144 degrees. Complementary angles are two angles that have a sum of 90 degrees. They can be adjacent or non-adjacent, so they do not have to be sharing a ray. Supplementary angles are two angles that have a sum of 180 degrees. Again, they can be adjacent, sharing a ray, or non-adjacent. They don't have to be sharing a ray. This example asks us to solve for x and y, then find the angle measures. If you notice, I have angle LPM and angle MPN, the two angles with x as a variable. So the two angles that are measuring 4x plus 15 and 5x plus 30, We know that these two angles are a linear pair or they are supplementary because they're forming a straight line LPN. So I can add 4x plus 15 plus the 5x plus 30 and set them equal to 180 because they are supplementary. I can combine like terms to get 9x plus 45 equals 180. Now to solve for x, I need to subtract 45 from both sides, which gives me 9x equals 135. Divide by 9 and you find that x equals 15. If x equals 15, I can find the angle measures by plugging 15 in for x. When you plug in 15 for 4x plus 15, you find that that angle is 75 degrees. When you plug in 15 for x, 5 times 15 plus 30, you find that this angle measures 105. You can double check to make sure that your answer makes sense by doing 75 plus 105, which you find is 180. So those angles would be supplementary, which we know to be true. So my answer makes sense. Now I could say that angle LPO is congruent to angle MPN because they are vertical angles, and I know that, and that's fine. So vertical angles are congruent, so that missing angle would be 105. And same thing goes for my other angle. That's fine, except for it asks us to solve for x and for y. So I'm just going to go ahead and do the same thing with my y's that I just did with the x's because it works. There are several different ways that you can do this. But for this case, I'm just going to say 3y plus 15 plus 3y minus 15 equals 180 because, again, we have supplementary angles. You combine your like terms and you find that 6y equals 180. When you divide by 6, you find that y equals 30. When you plug back in 30 for y, it's a good way to double check your answers. So when you plug in 30 for 3 times 30 plus 15, well, 3 times 30 is 90, plus 15 is 105. That makes sense. That's what we needed to get because those two angles are vertical, so they both should be congruent, and that's what I got with 105 for each. When you plug 30 back in for the other angle with y as a variable, 3 times 30 is 90, minus 15 is 75. Again, I needed it to equal 75 because I know that those two angles are vertical, so they needed to be congruent. Today's assignment is on page 47. It's numbers 8 through 52 even.